Okay, so today I'm going to talk about what do you do when you're working on your comic book, like I am here, and I'm doing a pencil drawing, and you determine or you figure out that during your process of drawing and penciling, any part of the drawing on the page, you figure out that there's a part that just oops, like you didn't mean to do that. And in this case, I'm talking about right here. This character's foot, her left foot, is like right into the border, right into the frame of the panel, I should say. And overall, because of that, I just need to move the image up. But the drawing's pretty well set. I mean, it's not drawn bad, but what do we do? So since obviously this is not a digital drawing that I would be doing on my Procreate on my iPad or in Photoshop, what we're doing is we're actually having to take a Lightbox, and you can see here this is my LightTracer Lightbox. It's a very handy tool to have in your studio, especially if you are an artist. And in my case, I'm a comic book artist, and I'm drawing, with pencils on paper. And it's a handy tool to have if we want to reposition something on the paper, or in this case, the Strathmore drawing board. It's not quite a board, but I mean it's fairly thick. But the paper itself, when you hold it up against this light box here, I just turned it on, you can see that it does actually cast or I should say the light does really go through that. And so I'm going to use that light box, and I'm going to go ahead and grab another piece of paper here in just a second. And with this piece of paper, which is just 20-pound copier paper, I'm going to go ahead and trace over the original drawing that I did on the comic book artboard. And so what I just, since the drawing's already nailed down as far as like the proportions and the pose, really all I just need to do is just do a quick little sketch, or I should say a tracing of the sketch. Just make sure I capture all the key lines that I'm going to need, because eventually what we'll be doing is we'll just be erasing the original drawing off of the comic book board itself and use the drawing that I trace over the board onto this piece of copy paper, and we will be using that to reposition it on the drawing board. So once that's all drawn, what I'm going to do is take the drawing, and you can see it, here it is, yeah, nicely traced, and there's the original drawing on the artboard. What we're going to do is we're just going to, as much as it pains me to do it, because it's a pretty cool looking sketch, right? It's got that nice loose drawing feel to it, but when you compare it to the tracing to the left there, it's fine as far as the tracing. So it's okay to erase this drawing here on the board. And what we'll do is eventually we'll clean it up, erase it from that panel, and then we will superimpose the board over the tracing, and this will allow me to reposition the artwork. So as you can see here, the light box really does play an important role if you want to take a drawing and you realize that it's drawn in the wrong spot, or even if you've drawn something incorrectly, let's say, and you want to reposition a leg or an arm. Sometimes that can easily be done on the board itself, but if it's something like an entire figure, it's going to be easier in my case to just trace it, trace it wholesale, the whole thing, and then get ready to retrace that onto the original artboard. So here we go. Turn off the light, don't need the light to erase it, and we're just gonna erase over this entire drawing. And after it's erased, we'll take the light box, get that turned back on, and we grab the light, the drawing paper that I used, the 20-pound bond paper, copier paper, and then I now have my original artboard on top of that, and I'm repositioning it, the drawing, within that panel so that I have a nice fit, and the figure doesn't have, like it was previously drawn, its foot hanging off or hanging out of that panel. And you know, to me, in this case, to me, it didn't really work out that way, so I decided to do the tracing and move the character up into the panel so that the foot is not dangling out of the box, the panel. Sometimes you do see that in comics, and if there's a reason to do that, then there's a reason to do that, and you have that part of the body or whatever it is, you know, popping out of the panel. But in this case, I really like to keep my storytelling pretty clear. There's no compelling reason to have that foot hanging out like it was earlier. It was truthfully an oversight on my part when I was sketching it. I should have probably sketched it out. You know, the stick drawing probably should have made that just a little more clear as far as my proportions and where that foot was going to end up. But in this case, because I do have a tool like the Lightbox, I can easily trace it, erase the original drawing off of the comic book drawing board, the blue line board, and just simply take the retrace and then move it up. And then as you see here, I'm just redrawing the character, the tracing, I'm retracing the character onto the board. And after this is all done, I will continue to go on drawing the page, and we'll eventually get a tighter drawing in. So right here you'll see as I move the sheet up, the drawing board, I'll push that up here into the camera view. Her foot is now not crossing over that panel border, and as a result I'm a lot more pleased with it. It doesn't look like something that was unintentionally done, and the character, the drawing, fits perfectly within the panel. And that's how you use a Lightbox.